Spain's most popular tourist attraction officially became the world's tallest church earlier this year.
In 2026, above Barcelona, a giant crane slowly lifts a glowing star toward the top of the Sagrada Familia. Workers hold their breath as it moves into place. At the moment it was installed, the building became the tallest church in the world after 144 years. But the deeper you go into its backstory, the more it feels like this structure was never meant to exist today. A war destroyed its designs, a civil war shattered its models, and a pandemic stopped its progress. For more than a century, the project stood between survival and failure. So how did this impossible structure still rise to completion after everything that tried to erase it? Let's dive in. A church begins. The story of the Sagrada Familia starts in 1882 in the city of Barcelona. At that time, a small group of Catholics decided to build a special church. They did not plan something massive or world-famous. They wanted a simple expiatory church where people could come and pray. They also decided that the project would depend only on public donations. No king funded it. No government controlled it. Ordinary people slowly gave money to support the work. At first, the design followed a traditional Gothic style. Builders planned pointed arches, tall walls, and familiar church patterns. Everything looked normal and expected. Workers began laying stones one by one on the ground. Progress moved slowly because funds came in small amounts. Some days, work stopped completely because money ran out. Still, the builders continued with patience and belief. The early structure showed nothing unusual. It looked like many other churches across Europe. No one imagined it would become something unique. The project seemed like another religious building that would quietly stand in the city. Even the workers treated it like a routine job. They followed basic designs and simple construction methods. But something important stood behind this project. Because it depended on donations, every stone carried meaning. Every piece of the structure represented faith from ordinary people. This made the building different in spirit, even if it looked ordinary in form. The church slowly grew as more people joined in supporting it. The structure started to rise, but it did not attract global attention. It remained a local effort, shaped by simple goals and limited resources. Then, in 1883, something unexpected happened. A young architect named Antoni Gaudi took control of the project. His arrival marked a turning point that no one could have predicted at that time. He did not see the church as a simple building. He saw something much bigger and far more ambitious. From that moment, the original idea began to shift slowly. The simple Gothic plan no longer satisfied the new direction. A new vision started forming, but people did not understand it immediately. Workers continued building, but the purpose behind their work began to change. The church no longer remained just a place for prayer. It started transforming into something deeper, a structure that would carry ideas, imagination, and a new way of thinking about design. The early simplicity slowly gave way to something more complex. This quiet beginning hides the most important truth. The Sagrada Familia did not start as a masterpiece. It began as a small and ordinary project with limited expectations. But history often changes direction through one decision. And in this case, that decision arrived with a new architect who refused to follow old rules. Gaudi changes everything. In 1883, Antoni Gaudi took charge of the Sagrada Familia and changed its direction completely. He did not follow the old Gothic plan that builders had started earlier. He imagined something bold and very different from any church built before. Instead of copying older styles, he looked at nature for ideas. He studied trees, mountains, and flowing shapes to guide his design. Gaudi believed that nature already solved many complex problems. He used this belief to shape every part of the structure. Inside the church, he designed columns that looked like tree trunks. These columns did not rise straight like traditional pillars. They twisted as they moved upward and then split into branches near the ceiling. This design helped the building support itself without thick walls. He also changed how the ceilings formed. Instead of flat or simple curves, he used shapes based on natural geometry. These curves allowed the weight to spread evenly across the structure. Because of this idea, the interior space felt open and filled with light. Visitors would not feel closed in by heavy stone. They would feel like they stood inside a forest made of stone. Gaudi did not depend only on paper drawings. He created plaster models to test his ideas in real form. He also used hanging chain models to understand how forces moved through the structure. When he turned those models upside down, they showed him the perfect shape for strong arches. This method allowed him to design safely without complex calculations. Every part of the building followed a deeper meaning. The entire basilica included 18 towers. Each tower represented something important. 12 towers stood for the 12 apostles. 4 taller towers symbolized the 4 evangelists. 1 tower represented the Virgin Mary. The tallest central tower represented Jesus Christ. Gaudi carefully planned the height of this central tower. It would reach 172 meters when completed. He chose this number for a reason. Montjuic Hill near Barcelona stood slightly taller. Gaudi believed human creations should never rise above what nature and God created. So he kept the tower 1 meter lower than the hill. Inside the church, Gaudi continued to shape every detail with purpose. Light did not enter randomly through windows. He planned how sunlight would move across the interior during the day. Colors would change as time passed, creating a living space that shifted with nature. The materials also followed his vision. Gaudi used natural stone as the main material. At first, he used Montjuic stone from local sources. Later builders replaced it with similar stone from different quarries when the original source ran out. Every stone had to pass strict tests before workers used it in the structure. Despite his powerful vision, progress remained slow. The project still depended on donations, and construction moved step by step. Gaudi knew the work would take many years to finish. He accepted that he might not see the final result himself. In 1926, Antoni Gaudi died, leaving the project far from complete. Less than 1/4 of the church had been built at that time. His vision remained clear, but the work ahead seemed overwhelming. The structure stood as an unfinished idea, waiting for others to continue what he had started. But what followed next did not just slow the project, but almost destroyed everything that Gaudi had created and left behind. War destroys vision. After Gaudi's death, the project slowed even more. Workers tried to continue using the models and notes that Gaudi had left behind. These pieces gave some direction, but they did not explain everything clearly. The structure already looked complex, and without Gaudi, each step became harder to plan and execute. Then a much greater disaster struck. During the Spanish Civil War, violence spread across the country and reached Barcelona. In the chaos of the conflict, Gaudi's workshop was attacked and destroyed. Many of his original plaster models broke into pieces. Drawings burned or disappeared. Years of work vanished in a short time. This loss created a serious problem. The Sagrada Familia did not rely on simple blueprints. Gaudi had designed most of the structure using physical models and natural forms. Without those models, future builders faced a puzzle with missing parts. They could see the structure rising, but they could not fully understand how to complete it. At this stage, many people believed the project would end. The church stood incomplete and damaged by history. There was no clear path forward. The remaining pieces of Gaudi's work looked like fragments of a broken idea. The dream that once guided the project seemed close to disappearing forever. But the project did not stop completely. Later generations of architects and engineers decided to continue the work. They collected every surviving fragment from the destroyed workshop. They studied small pieces of plaster models, damaged sketches, and written notes. From these remains, they tried to rebuild Gaudi's original vision step by step. This process took time and patience. Each fragment required careful study before builders could use it. Architects compared pieces, measured shapes, and slowly formed a clearer picture of the design. They treated the project like a puzzle that needed to be solved piece by piece. Even with these efforts, uncertainty remained. No one could confirm every detail with complete confidence. Some decisions required interpretation, and each choice carried risk. Builders had to trust their understanding while respecting Gaudi's original ideas. This made the work both technical and creative at the same time. As years passed, the Sagrada Familia slowly came back to life. Construction restarted, and new sections began to rise again. The project moved forward, but it carried the marks of everything it had survived. War had not only delayed the structure, but also forced people to rebuild its vision from memory and fragments. The church no longer stood as a simple construction project. It became a symbol of resilience and determination. It showed how people could continue even after losing almost everything. The structure that once seemed broken began to take shape again through effort and dedication. From destruction came a new phase of rebuilding that pushed the limits of what seemed possible next. Building the impossible. After the Spanish Civil War, builders faced a task that seemed beyond human ability. They did not have complete plans, yet they still needed to continue construction. Architects studied every remaining fragment from Antoni Gaudi's work. They compared broken models and tried to understand how each part connected to the whole structure. This careful study allowed them to restart building step by step. The project required official permissions from local authorities in Barcelona before major construction could continue. Because the structure grew taller and more complex, engineers had to prove that it would remain safe. They prepared detailed reports and shared them with city officials. Only after approval could they continue work on large sections of the basilica. This process added more time, but ensured stability. Builders also had to solve many structural challenges. Traditional Gothic buildings used thick walls and external supports to carry weight. Gaudi's design worked differently. The structure relied on internal stone columns that transferred loads like tree trunks in a forest. Engineers needed to calculate how forces moved through these columns without causing failure. To handle this, they used modern tools alongside traditional methods. They studied the geometry of the structure using detailed measurements. They created scaled models to test how the weight would spread across different sections. These models helped them understand how to continue building safely without damaging earlier work. The basilica included 18 towers, so builders needed to plan how each tower would connect without placing too much stress on the foundation. They also had to choose the right materials. Natural stone remained the main building material. Workers sourced stone from quarries around the world because the original Montjuic stone became limited. Each stone block went through strict testing to ensure strength and durability. Only the strongest pieces became part of the structure. The process required careful coordination between architects, engineers, and workers. Each group had a specific role, and they needed to work together closely. Architects focused on design accuracy, engineers handled structural safety, and workers carried out construction on site. This teamwork allowed progress even with limited original guidance. Over time, the project became more organized. Builders created schedules to manage each stage of construction. They divided the work into smaller parts to make it easier to handle. This approach helped them maintain steady progress without overwhelming the team. Despite these improvements, the project still faced delays. Limited funding from donations slowed progress at different times. Some sections took years to complete because resources did not arrive consistently. However, the builders never stopped completely. They continued working whenever conditions allowed. As the structure grew higher, new challenges appeared. Greater height meant stronger winds and more pressure on the building. Engineers had to ensure that the structure could handle these forces safely. They strengthened certain areas and improved support systems to maintain balance. The Sagrada Familia slowly transformed into a complex engineering project. It required knowledge, patience, and constant adjustment. Builders combined old ideas with new techniques to keep moving forward. Each step brought them closer to completing a vision that once seemed impossible. The next stage introduced advanced machines that changed how stone moved and shaped the structure forever. Machines build stone. As the project moved forward, builders in Barcelona started using modern machines to handle complex shapes and heavy materials. Traditional tools alone could not shape stone into the twisting forms required for the Sagrada Familia. Engineers introduced CNC machines that could cut stone with extreme precision. These machines followed digital models and shaped each block exactly as needed. This method saved time and reduced errors during fabrication. Workers no longer carved every stone by hand, as they did in earlier years. Instead, they prepared detailed three-dimensional designs using advanced software. These designs guided the machines during cutting. After this stage, skilled technicians still refined each piece by hand to ensure a perfect fit. This combination of technology and craftsmanship allowed builders to maintain quality while improving speed. The construction process also changed in another important way. Instead of building everything directly on site, workers began creating large stone modules in workshops. Each module consisted of several stone blocks connected together using hidden steel elements. These modules acted as strong units that could carry weight and transfer forces through the structure. After preparing these modules, workers transported them to the construction site. Tower cranes then lifted each heavy panel into place. Some panels weighed between 7 and 10 tons, so every movement required careful control. Workers coordinated closely with crane operators to guide each piece into position without error. Even a small shift could cause misalignment. Precision became extremely important during this stage. Builders allowed only about 1 millimeter of tolerance when placing each panel. If the holes or edges did not match perfectly, workers adjusted them on site before fixing the piece permanently. This level of accuracy ensured that all parts connected smoothly and supported the structure correctly. Weather conditions also affected the process. Workers could only lift panels when wind speeds stayed within safe limits. Strong winds could cause heavy pieces to swing and lose balance. Teams monitored conditions closely and waited for the right moment before continuing work. Safety remained a top priority throughout the project. Inside the structure, engineers added steel bars and cables to strengthen the stone framework. These hidden elements connected different parts together and helped the building resist vibrations from wind and other forces. The combination of stone and steel gave the structure both strength and stability. This modern approach allowed builders to complete sections faster than before while maintaining precision and safety. It marked a major step in turning an old vision into a modern reality. All of this progress slowly led the project toward its most important stage, the completion of the final tower. The final tower. After many years of steady work, the Sagrada Familia reached its most important stage in Barcelona. Builders focused on completing the central tower dedicated to Jesus Christ. This tower stands at the heart of the entire structure and connects every part of the design. Engineers planned its height at 172.5 meters, making it the tallest church in the world once finished. To build a tower this tall from stone, teams followed strict construction rules. They secured all necessary permissions from local authorities before raising each section. Engineers reviewed safety conditions carefully because the tower would face strong winds at high altitude. Every step required approval to ensure the structure remained stable and safe. Workers did not build the tower using simple ground methods. Instead, they used the modular system developed in earlier stages. Large prefabricated panels arrived from workshops and reached the site ready for assembly. Cranes lifted these panels high above the ground with controlled movement. Teams guided each piece slowly to its exact position. Engineers checked every connection point with precision tools. They measured alignment carefully to keep the structure balanced. Workers tightened internal steel cables to bind all parts together. This system allowed the tower to act as one strong unit instead of separate sections. At the top of the tower, builders prepared space for a massive cross measuring 17 meters in height. This cross used glass and ceramic materials to reflect light across the city. Installing it required careful planning and perfect coordination between crane operators and ground teams. On February 20th, 2026, the final section of this cross moved into position at the highest point of the basilica. With this step, the central tower reached completion and marked a historic moment for the project. After more than a century of effort, the structure finally achieved its full height and symbolic purpose. Even after this milestone, builders continued working on other parts of the church. Plans show that the remaining sections will be completed around 2033, with final decorative work finishing by 2035. For over 144 years, generation after generation continued building the Sagrada Familia with patience, sacrifice, and belief. Most of them never saw the finished vision they were working toward, but today, when you stand before this breathtaking structure, the first thing that comes to mind is simple. It was all worth it. What do you think about this extraordinary journey of building the tallest church in the world? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because we'll be uploading more incredible stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see ya.